What you're about to witness will shake the foundations of British politics to its core. In the last hour, a decision was made inside Downing Street so unexpected, so incendiary, that it has set the capital ablaze with whispers of betrayal, power, and unprecedented upheaval. The Prime Minister, in a move never seen before, has triggered a storm that is rippling through every corner of Westminster. Labour leaders are scrambling in panic. Conservative stalwarts are watching their influence crumble. Across the Atlantic, figures from Washington to Wall Street are speaking in hushed tones about what this means for the future of governance in the United Kingdom. This isn't just politics, it's a moment that could redefine the entire balance of power. Moments ago, news broke that the Prime Minister convened a secret meeting with a rising independent politician, someone long dismissed as a fringe voice, a maverick challenging the status quo. Sources inside the inner circle describe the scene as tense, almost cinematic, with advisors anxiously pacing, aides whispering, and the Prime Minister himself exuding a quiet intensity that has left even his most loyal supporters unsettled. The official statement is brief, almost minimalistic, but the ramifications are anything but. Why was this figure chosen? Why now? And what exactly was discussed behind closed doors that has left ministers reeling? Stay with me, because the full story exposes not only a political earthquake, but also a deeper, more profound shift, one that ordinary citizens are feeling before even understanding it. At the heart of this upheaval is a politician who, until now, operated on the periphery, derided by commentators and dismissed by the mainstream press. But yesterday, in a move described by insiders as audacious and meticulously calculated, the Prime Minister acknowledged this outsider in a way that signals a seismic realignment of influence. Conversations that were once whispered in private are now spilling into public forums, social media, and grassroots movements. The outsider is no longer invisible. He is now a voice with legitimacy, and the reactions are instantaneous. Within the corridors of power, panic is palpable. Cabinet meetings have reportedly descended into chaos. Ministers, previously confident in their control over policy and public perception, now find themselves questioning how they could have underestimated a figure once deemed irrelevant. Allies of the Prime Minister admit that even they were blindsided by the strategic boldness of this gesture. One senior official, speaking under condition of anonymity, described the atmosphere as electrified, almost fearful, noting that everyone understands this changes the rules entirely. The ripple effects extend far beyond the government. In media houses across the country, editors are scrambling to frame the story without acknowledging the full magnitude of what has occurred. Columnists are speculating, pundits are pontificating, but the underlying truth is clear. The political landscape of Britain has been reshaped overnight. Those who previously dominated debates find themselves suddenly out of step with public sentiment. The outsider, in contrast, is connecting with ordinary citizens in a way that traditional leaders can no longer match. Why is this happening now? Experts suggest timing is everything. With mounting public frustration over issues like inflation, housing, and national security, the stage was set for a disruption. People feel unheard, overlooked, and disillusioned with the promises of long-standing parties. When a figure who speaks plainly, challenges orthodoxy, and refuses to bow to entrenched power is suddenly recognised by the Prime Minister himself, it is more than political, it is symbolic. It signals that the voice of the people, long dismissed, is being validated at the highest levels. Inside Labour, the response is said to be catastrophic. Leaders who once projected calm and control are reportedly lashing out behind closed doors, demanding answers that do not exist. Advisors describe meetings where frustrations boil over, where the veneer of authority cracks, revealing panic, confusion, and a desperate struggle to regain narrative control. Every gesture, every interview, every statement is scrutinized through the lens of fear, because the old rules no longer apply across the Atlantic. Former leaders and global commentators are watching closely. The move has reignited discussions about populism, sovereignty, and the limits of institutional authority. Allies of the outsider view this as a vindication of years of political struggle, a signal that the establishment's grip is weakening and that citizens who have been dismissed and marginalized are beginning to see tangible change. Social media has erupted with messages of hope, triumph, and defiance. Ordinary people feel emboldened, sensing that a door once closed is now ajar and that the momentum cannot be reversed. The symbolism of the moment is unmistakable. Traditional parties, media institutions, and political elites have long relied on predictability, the assurance that outsiders remain on the margins. But yesterday, the rules were rewritten. The outsider is no longer marginal. He now carries authority, influence, and the unmistakable imprimatur of recognition from the highest office. For citizens, this is electrifying. For the establishment, it is terrifying. The consequences are already manifesting. Polls in constituencies once considered safe for the ruling parties are shifting dramatically. Working class communities, long disillusioned with promises unmet, are responding with enthusiasm and engagement. Where once there was passivity, now there is conversation, activism, and a renewed sense of agency. The old certainties of British politics, the unassailable dominance of traditional parties, the predictability of elections, the control of narratives are being challenged, tested, and in some places overturned. This moment is not temporary. It is not a passing controversy. It is the start of a reckoning, a fundamental confrontation between institutional authority and citizen awakening. The political earthquake has begun, and its tremors will be felt in every council chamber, newsroom and living room across the nation. Those in power must confront the reality that ordinary people are no longer willing to accept inertia, pretense, or token gestures. The public's voice, long muted, is now commanding attention, and it will not be ignored. As the days unfold, the pressure on the political elite intensifies. Every statement, every decision, every misstep is magnified under the unflinching gaze of a public that no longer trusts the narratives handed down from power. The old mechanisms of control, media spin, calculated messaging, and institutional authority are failing. Attempts to suppress discussion only fan the flames, turning skepticism into conviction and whispers into a roar. The people, long sidelined, are now active participants in shaping the narrative. Their voices ripple across digital platforms, boardrooms, and kitchen tables, demanding acknowledgement, demanding change, demanding justice. Inside party headquarters, uncertainty reigns. Leaders who once exuded confidence now move with caution, recalibrating strategies that have already begun to crumble. Advisors scramble to contain damage. Meetings stretch into the night, and consultations with pollsters and strategists produce little reassurance. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere is one of desperation, a recognition that the old order cannot withstand the momentum of awakened public engagement. Traditional rules of British politics, hierarchy, loyalty, and predictability are being rewritten before everyone's eyes. Meanwhile, the outsider continues to thrive, speaking plainly, connecting emotionally, and addressing the grievances of ordinary citizens. He has become a magnet for attention and influence. Where leaders once relied on scripted speeches, he speaks directly to the lived experiences of the population. Where ministers once relied on focus groups, he relies on empathy, authenticity, and a sense of urgency that resonates with a nation hungry for leadership that feels human. His rise is not accidental. It is the inevitable consequence of a system that has long ignored the voices of its people. The psychological impact of this shift is profound. Citizens who once felt powerless now sense possibility. Communities that felt invisible now see representation. Ordinary conversations about housing, jobs, national security, and cultural identity are being elevated to matters of national significance. The perception of possibility, once dormant, has been awakened. People feel they can influence the course of history, that their opinions, their concerns, and their passions matter. And as they speak, others listen, creating a cascade of awareness and engagement that spreads like wildfire. Yet the establishment does not relent. Behind the polished speeches and public statements lies a calculated effort to regain control. Media campaigns are launched. Political commentators issue warnings of chaos and instability, and regulatory powers are quietly mobilized to pressure dissenting voices. Every tactic, every warning, every smear is met with resistance because the very population they seek to control has learned to see through manipulation. Attempts to marginalize the outsider only increase his legitimacy, reinforcing the sense that the system fears him precisely because he represents a truth too uncomfortable to ignore. Across social and political spectrums, alliances shift and recalibrate. Traditional divisions no longer hold. Long-standing loyalties are tested as individuals, and groups reconsider their positions in light of unfolding events. The landscape is volatile, uncertain, and exhilarating. A high-stakes game where the rules have changed mid-play. Those who cling to the past find themselves irrelevant. Those willing to embrace change, to align with the awakening of public consciousness, gain momentum and influence with a speed that leaves even seasoned strategists bewildered. The magnitude of this moment is not confined to political machinations. It resonates culturally, socially, and psychologically. Ordinary citizens feel vindicated. Communities long ignored by elites sense acknowledgement. The sense of shared purpose grows, not through edicts from above, but through organic, decentralized engagement. Conversations that once occurred only behind closed doors now unfold in public view. Digital platforms, workplaces, local councils, and family gatherings become arenas of influence, debate, and mobilization. The awakening is everywhere, subtle yet unstoppable. The stakes have never been higher. Elections will still occur, speeches will still be delivered, policies will still be debated. But these formal mechanisms are now taking place against the backdrop of a society that demands authenticity, accountability, and action. People are no longer satisfied with promises. They seek alignment between words and lived reality. Leaders who fail to meet this expectation risk irrelevance, while those who embody it gain unprecedented legitimacy and authority. History itself seems to be moving. The old balance of power, long taken for granted, is in flux. The public mood has shifted from passive discontent to active participation. Resistance to the momentum of change feels futile. Citizens who once accepted quiet compliance now challenge institutions openly, and the result is a political environment defined by tension, uncertainty, and possibility. Every decision by those in power now carries amplified consequence. Every policy, every speech, every interaction is filtered through the awareness that the people are watching, evaluating, and deciding. In this moment, one truth is undeniable: Britain is no longer the same. The seismic shifts initiated by the Prime Minister's bold recognition of an outsider voice have unleashed a wave of public engagement, scrutiny, and empowerment that cannot be contained. What was once dismissed as fringe, irrelevant, or extreme is now central. What was once private is now public. What was once impossible now feels inevitable. The political, social, and cultural landscape is being rewritten, not in committee rooms or editorial offices, but in the hearts, minds, and conversations of ordinary citizens who have decided that the path they were on is no longer acceptable. The days ahead will be defining. Institutions will be tested. Leaders will be judged not by tradition or expectation, but by their ability to respond honestly, decisively, and empathetically. Change is no longer optional, it is demanded. The awakening is real, it is powerful, and it is unstoppable. Britain stands at a threshold, and what emerges on the other side will be unrecognizable to anyone who believed the old order was permanent. History is unfolding, and the people are no longer silent observers. They are participants, architects, and arbiters of the future.